So my dad, very honorable for what he did. There was never a doubt that he would take care of everything he had to take care of as a man. His family, his wife, nobody was ever going to dishonor us. He wouldn't allow that.
What do you believe makes America great?
When everybody from everywhere comes together and puts their heart and soul into this place that we call home and works very hard every day to make it that way, not to ruin it, to make it stronger, to make it better for our children, for our families, that's what makes it great. It's not just living here. This is our country.
Freedom is the song that we sing as we march on.
Scott Diekhoff, welcome to The Road to Greatness. This is episode 6, and we are here to discuss a lot of things, mostly the core values that built America. Specifically, your episode is about one of my favorite core values, which is honor. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. And it's my honor to be here, and I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, so a lot of people do not realize that we've known each other for almost 10 years, I would say, maybe even a little bit more, because you served in the Marine Corps with my husband many years ago. And so I know a lot of your story and a lot of your journey of what I do know. And we're here today to discuss your journey, what brought you to where you're at now, and a lot of the core values that you believe builds this great country.
I went in the Marine Corps in 1990. So I didn't always know I was going to do that, right? I knew, I think a few years before that, I knew I had to do something. I needed a purpose. I needed to leave where I was. Not that it was bad, but there was really, I knew there was nothing there for me. And the whole recruiting story, and that's interesting. That's how it got me to the Marine Corps. I don't know if I could go into that. So fast forward, I said, okay, well, Ronald Reagan was I love that man, and listening to him and watching him on TV, and just hearing his reverence and his respect for the men and women of the military. I was like, man, I got to do this. That's a purpose.
He inspired you.
He inspired me in that sense, for sure. And then there was other individuals in my life that inspired me as well. And my dad served, and family members served, so for sure. But I went to the recruiting office, and I had a little more hair than I have now. But they were all in one suite.
Okay.
So you walk around, there's all their offices and like a space in the middle. I walk in, and I kind of had my heart set on the Marine Corps, but I wanted to hear everything out. And all I heard was, I walked in, hey, well, maybe it was the time. Maybe they needed, more recruits. I get it now. But it was, hey, we'll offer you this, we'll offer you that. That's not the way I was raised. And I kept walking around this circle, and I got to the Marine door, and I looked in, and there's a gunny sitting at his desk, just sitting there doing some paperwork, having some coffee. Didn't look up at all. Okay. And I knocked on the door. He finally looked up. He said, what do you want? I was like, I'm home. And that was it. Like, he didn't need me. Marine Corps didn't need me. It wasn't about me specifically. It was about, what we are doing as Marines, as an institution. And then it kind of just obviously took off from there. But in the Marine Corps, they said, well, it started there. They said, what do you want to do? I said, well, I have no idea. I never even thought about this, really. So what can I do? He said, well, your ASVABs, you pretty much do what you want. I'm like, okay. He's like, you like planes? Sure. Yeah, I like planes. That'd be great. So I ended up being a helicopter mechanic, which was awesome for the first almost 12 years of my career. And that's your husband and I served together in 365, deployed a few times. And after that, it was that time you have to move on if you want to continue your career as a staff NCO. You got to take a B billet at the time, we called it that. So I chose embassy duty. So I was a deck commander, which was great. I took my family to the first 2 posts, which was Nicaragua and Turkey, and it was really good. And then I came back to teach for a while as an instructor, and I went back out by myself to Baghdad for a year, that commander out there. But all, there's good and bad and everything. But overall, it was just a fantastic duty and a fantastic segue into the rest of my career. A few little things here and there, but then the next big jump was picking up first sergeant and then going to third fast company, which was another struggle. It was great, but before I got there, I said, well, what? I don't want to go to third fast. Just
Yeah.
for everybody listening, hold on, because it was awesome.
And just for the civilians listening that don't know what FAST means, just please.
Fleet Anti-Terrorism Security Team.
Yeah.
And the reason I didn't want to, or I thought I didn't want to, is because I figured, and I was pretty certain I was going to retire after the next, next enlistment, next duty. And I wanted to go back on deployment. So in FAST, all my platoons would deploy, but I wouldn't deploy with them. They would deploy separately. So I was like, I can't do that,
Right.
But it ended up working out perfectly. I mean, our unit was, I'd say, hands down, the best unit I think I was in. We had the right people all in the right places, and still communicate with a large majority of them now. So it was really good. That's the cliff notes on, my career.
So what did you learn about yourself going from, what age did you enlist, 17 or 18?
17, a year early.
Yeah. So what did you learn about yourself going through, first as a 17, 18-year-old kid in boot camp?
Well, 18 in boot camp.
18 in boot camp,
Right.
becoming, going from recruit to becoming a Marine.
Right.
And then, fast forward a career in the military, in the Marine Corps, and picking up first sergeant. So that's a big journey to go from an 18-year-old kid, essentially, to, a man. You essentially grew up in the Marine Corps.
Right.
And had a family and everything like that. So what are some of the things that you feel that the military, that you learned and integrated, as you were growing up in the Marines?
Discipline and hard work. My dad really, really taught me those things for sure. So I never gave up on anything. I just kept driving forward. And I think that through everything that somehow, sometimes it like maybe could have trimmed it off a little bit, depending. But I mean,
You mean you were too disciplined?
or maybe worked too hard, or maybe just went too hard into things, for sure. But those things helped me through not only the work environment and the deployments and the Marine Corps, but also, my family. And boy, what a whirlwind too. And I could speak for a lot of guys out there. We didn't do that right, and well, maybe we did, but we just weren't there enough to properly do it right.
You make a good point. Being married to, I was not married to my husband when he was active. I was the second wife, second life phase of things. So I have a lot of respect for the women that, good or bad, whether, whatever the marriage is or isn't, there's such, it is a service to be married to a man that is active in the military. It's just as much, you're doing your duty as a wife married to a man in service,
Sure.
as much as you guys are deployed. Different roles and different, respects for different parties. But, what are some of the things that maybe you and your ex-wife went through? Because it's not easy being married to somebody active, right?
No. And then, specifically in the deck commander role, she had a huge role in that, and she did great with it, for sure. I mean, a lot of women are just natural with it. And it really helped ease what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
There was this, so Nicaragua, we would say, well, we need to take a vacation, because all I did was work a lot. And I tried to do a few things here and there. I'm like, okay, we need to do that. That's right. So we were going to take a trip to Guatemala. I was like, all right. So I did all the right, research and paperwork, got it. And we were going to take a bus. Got a bus, drove down to Guatemala, had a great time, saw the ruins, met with some people that we knew from Nicaragua. And so on the way back, we're in Guatemala on the bus, and we get bus jacked. So So my ex-wife went through a lot of different things like that. Her life was a whirlwind just being near me. So we get bus jacked, and it was
You're like, hey, easy day. This is just, normal around here.
yeah, and it would have been a lot different, I think, if I didn't have her and my children. So that was very traumatic for them, for sure, and nobody expected it. But the bus slams on its brakes, and all of a sudden you got 7 guys on the bus. I didn't really know the true intent. I had an idea that it was for money or ideology. I didn't think it was anything else yet, but you never can't tell. But everybody on the bus is extremely, frightened, and they're going through and just robbing people. And one person in the back, they beat them up pretty good, and they all had rifles and pistols. So you never knew what was going to take place. So obviously my concern is my wife and my children, and she was not doing well with it. Never had any training. Nowadays they do that for deck commander spouses. They train them in certain things to try to get their mind right a little bit, even though you may not ever have your mind right for that. Long story short, we got through it. My son was 8, daughter was 6, so he remembers more of it than she did. But that night, once we finally got all done, we finally got to San Salvador. We stopped there on the bus. I was told no more bus. Yep, roger that. So we flew from San Salvador to Managua. But that night, we're in a hotel. It's like, all right, brought the kids up there. We ordered some pizza. They had little Caesars in San Salvador back then. Perfect. And it was like nothing happened. Obviously, it's just a little cover for the time being.
Sure.
But life went on, and we talked about it, and they talked to the right people about it. Just tell them. But I guess my point is, you just never know. You just never know. And like you said, spouses they have a huge part to play in it,
Right.
For sure.
And then you're like, all right, got to go back to work. See you later.
Pretty much.
Right. So then after the Marine Corps, you got out, and then you were with State Department for a number of years.
15 years.
And, just share a little bit about your experience there.
Sure. So I was with the diplomatic security, and kind of a contractor basis, and in Afghanistan and South Sudan and South Jerusalem and a few other places. But staying on the spousal thing.
Mm-hmm.
So Afghanistan, I remember one day we were on the roof of a building, apartment building on the compound. And we started taking some incoming. And it was pretty close to the buildings. Well, my wife called at that time, so my partner up there, we're down behind the ledge, and what he's like, you're going to answer that? I'm like, yeah, I kind of have to. I was like, what would happen if I didn't answer right now? Because she never calls. Because I know in my mind, either somebody talked to her about something that was going on, or she's watching it. Who knows? I'm going to answer. He's like, oh, man. So we just waited till the volleys would go over, and they were close. And then I'd cover up the phone, and I'm like, hey,
Yeah. It's all
how's it going? What's happening? Nothing. Well, so-and-so called me. See, no. It's just a normal day. It's all right. I'll call you in a little while. Okay. I know she didn't believe me, but it's one of those things too. She can't do anything about it, obviously. I mean, how many thousands of guys have similar stories, for sure, right? I mean, that's just what we do. We're in the middle of it. And you get through it, and then try to provide some reassurance.
I am appreciative of you sharing this, because it's giving people a highlight or an insight of what it's like from, the woman's point of view, and a little bit of what, and the male's point of view of how do I keep her from worrying less about me, because you're just doing what you need to do, So I appreciate that. So honor is the episode that we're here to talk about. So this series, we have talked about courage, which is our first Sacred 7 core value, honesty, self-honesty,
right,
which leads to integrity. The courage to be honest leads to integrity. Mm-hmm. And then once you have that level of integrity within yourself, it does require commitment.
Mm-hmm.
to live that way.
Right.
Otherwise falling back into those old habits, right? And then finally, it is your duty to honor love. Is kind of how we sum it up with duty, honor, and love. So we are here to talk about honor. Now, a lot of how I like to talk about the core value that we're focusing on is, the complete opposite, right? So in order to know integrity, we need to know what's out of integrity.
Right.
In order to know honesty, we need to know what it's like to live a very dishonest life. Then finally, we can wake up and say, maybe I should get a little bit more honest, right? So honor, it's really interesting because somebody that's dishonorable, that's a pretty bad reputation to get, right?
Right.
Especially when we're talking about military and veterans and that kind of stuff. I mean, honor and valor and these things are, things that we revere, as especially civilians and Americans. We look at our veterans and it's just the epitome of honoring and valor, right? So dishonor, let's just talk about that. And it really was self. I'm really talking about where have I not honored myself or went against myself in any sort of way? Does anything come up for you in that?
Well, I'm sure there's many times.
Yeah. Well, where did you learn honor from? Did you have a good example growing up of an honorable man or woman or something like that in your life?
I did, for sure. I don't know that I equated it to that word as much back then. But yeah, I mean, both my parents, my dad, very honorable for what he did. There was never a doubt that he would take care of everything he had to take care of as a man.
Mm.
His family, his wife, that's his responsibility. He's honorable.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody was ever going to dishonor us. He wouldn't allow that either, for sure. But I didn't really know what the word truly meant back then until I, went in the Marine Corps and, throughout my career there. So to me, thinking about it, honor encompasses everything in the Sacred Seven.
Yeah.
Everything. You can't have honor, like you said, without having the rest. I think a big proponent of that is integrity and respect, right?
Yeah, meaning you don't get to honor if you don't get to the other ones above it.
Right. You won't get there. So you say, I honor you, but do you truly? First, you have that within you.
Right.
First, are you honorable? And then I can honor somebody else as well. But it's a very high thing for me, I think. If I feel somebody is honorable, that means they have my complete trust and confidence and integrity, and there's no question.
I agree.
That is an honorable person.
I agree. And I was just as you were talking, feeling how good men in history, I focus on men because I'm interviewing men. So it's not to say discounting the women too, but great men of history that we revere and honor, whether it's Alexander the Great, or I'm just thinking of other, George Washington, or these world history leaders and figures that their names live on forever. Honor was bestowed upon them. It's not like everybody's walking around saying, I'm honorable, trust me. It's like the people that we believe, hey, that person is honorable. I will trust them with my decisions. I'll trust them with certain decisions or certain, leadership skills or something like that, because I know they got it.
Mm-hmm.
That it's not common.
No.
So where do you think that comes from? Because especially with Marine Corps, you guys, it's very different, Marines versus the other, branches of the military. And I do feel
we're a little different.
Yeah, you guys are pretty tight brothers, whether you know each other, you've just first met 5 minutes ago.
Right.
It's a brotherhood, it's an understanding.
100%.
Right? So there is honor amongst you guys.
For sure. Yeah, in many different ways. And if we see that too, we see another Marine that may be not acting honorably.
Sure.
Then we feel that's our job to get in there, and it's our duty, right? To
You don't see too many Marines like coming at each other and publicly. I mean, publicly online or attacking or something like that. Or there's a good amount of honor within the unit that I think it separates also from a lot of others.
For sure. And it's all, the Brotherhood is a big proponent of that. I also think when you're talking about great leaders and, people we look at throughout the millennia, right? There's so many to list in different things. George Washington, you mentioned. Yeah, for sure. But some people just get a little piece. But if without that, who knows what would have happened? This is my time right here. And I test all that to God. Like can I do this on my own without everything I have? Yeah, may not look the same, right? Mm-hmm. Is it truly going to happen without him? Hard to say. I'm going to say probably not, so the honor part of that and all these honorable men, I believe it's, God is working through them to do what they needed to do.
Absolutely. I mean, when we look at, there's an amazing series, the Medal of Honor winner series on Netflix. Mm-hmm. And anybody, which of course, for those listening that don't know, you are an instructor with Sovereign Self-Defense.
That's right.
And one of the lead instructors in our higher levels of our high value asset training. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But we require everybody to watch the Medal of Honor series once they start getting into level 3. And it's exactly what you're saying, because one of the explorations that we ask people in level 3 is, what was that? You watch these stories of men that went beyond physical explanation of what the physical body could do, oftentimes.
Right.
It wasn't because they were doing it for, the country or something like that, right? It's beyond even that, right? And I mean, you guys can explain more than me, but it's to the person to the left and the right?
For sure.
But when we really look at it, like what drove that man to do that, there's no other explanation other than God and love.
Right.
Which essentially in my world is the same thing.
Right.
But it's like, how else can you explain that?
I don't think you can.
When did you, I mean, I know you're a man of faith, right? Mm-hmm. So when did you grow up with that, or was there something that happened in your life, or maybe you had to reconnect at
So yes to both, for sure. I grew up with that, and went through many trials and tribulations throughout my life, mm-hmm. and that happens, and I wish it would have been a little less, but yeah, I've gotten off my track, many times throughout. Not that I stopped believing. Sure. But I just got caught up in the world, right? Per se, doing my own thing. Put God on the bench for a little while.
Yeah, I'll get back to you when I need you.
Right? I'm just being honest. And about a year and a half ago, or maybe about a year and a half ago, when I left the State Department, and things were changing. Well, considerable change. I just said, even though obviously before that, still believing in God, on the right track, for sure, giving my life to God every day and being in community with him. But at that point, it was like, I need to dig a little deeper than this. I need to every day, they just give my life to him. And that's still a challenge. But I knew I couldn't do any of that on my own.
Sure.
I think that was finally the revelation came to me. Like, I used to think, I can do all this stuff. Of course, I believe in God. I can do this stuff. I can do anything. But why? How am I doing it? And it really, really came to me, about a year and a half, 2 years ago, where I can do all things through him that strengthens me.
Sure.
Right. And that's Jesus Christ, our Lord. That's God. I can do it on my own. So what am I doing here? Why am I trying to? So I just completely just as much as I can. And there's always the next trial. There's always the next tribulation, and I welcome it, and because I know where I'm at.
Yeah, there's an old country saying. So right now we're here at the Freedom Ranch, Alpha Ministries, which is where we do all our training at this beautiful ranch. For the viewers that are wondering why we're not over at the Navy SEAL Museum on this episode, we decided to do this one here at the ranch. And there's an old country saying in Okeechobee, different level, different devil. So, you go through different things in life, and
Right.
hey, new domains for us to step into as human beings, right?
Right.
So, okay, so after State Department, and all in the same time period, you were still with State Department. We rekindle, not you and I, but Alex and you,
Right.
my husband, so some of the people listening know Alex well, but they don't know the history of you and Alex when you guys were younger.
Sure.
And then they just see the version that they get now, which is you guys are
We're both completely different.
great friends now, but they didn't know back when you
No.
guys were.
No, in fact, I never thought I'd hear from him again. And when we first started doing this, when Alex called me, I had to take a double. Who's this? This is Alex Borgos. Wow. I mean, that, and I'll reverse back a little bit too, but that was one of the best phone calls I ever got from a Marine, because I just never thought that we would reconnect. Why? Well, why? Well, we, let's see, putting it lightly would be, we didn't like each other.
Right.
It was a fight and a battle every day. So those that know us, they're probably watching and saying, yeah, I was a little high strung, putting it lightly. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And we both had our things, right? So
he was wild, putting it lightly.
For sure. Didn't like authority, didn't like discipline. I was wired tight, didn't like things out of order. And we went at each other a lot. But there was also, and what a lot of the guys around us didn't see was that there was also respect there.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because I knew he wasn't going to back down on things. And I'm glad he didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I that's not what I was going for. And you also knew that if it needed to get done, well, he's on it.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody, right? So there was that for sure. But yeah, years later, now we're great friends, and people just assume it's life, right? Everybody.
So what was the phone call like for you? Like what did he say? Because look, for two people that don't like each other, I mean, you guys loved each other, right? You're Marines together, whatever. Same unit, of course, right?
Yep.
But I'm just looking at, for two people that, parted ways, you could have never spoke again.
Right.
Right? And never heard from each other again. What was that phone call like? What did he say? What did you say that got you guys to say, wow, let's do this business together and stuff?
Well, first, we talked about the past a little bit, and we both accepted where we were and where we are now. And, and there was, in a sense, some sincere apologies for both of us. Wasn't really needed, because we could, in our conversation, I don't even know if we said that word.
Sure.
But in our conversation, it was there.
Yeah.
And a respect. And I was just I can't tell you how happy it was. I mean, I was a different place in my life now. This is already, I retired 2 years before this, 3 years maybe before this phone call. And I hadn't seen Alex in 10 years.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit longer. So we got through that. Just the great part, like, wow, we're really talking to each other, and this is a great conversation. We realized, hey, we're both a lot further along in our journey as men, as warriors, and our journey with God. And so it was a very good conversation, that matter. And then he told me, he's like, well, this is what I'm doing now. I was like, that's fantastic, because it was like right up my alley what I'm doing with the government. I'm like, but the kicker was, he said, I'm giving this to civilians. Like, well, why not? That's perfect. Because they don't normally get to see or get to train with, the things that we do.
Right.
And aren't they valuable? Yeah. Why do we just keep it bottled up for the government? That was right. He was telling me. I'm like, I can't agree with you more. And I think that night I already started
Yeah.
I started writing things down, and you know the story of that. We got a little too anxious on the first workshop.
Right. Yeah. I was
We
the
put like a
student.
week's worth of training into 2 days.
I was a student. Like, all right, cut
Yeah.
that in half, guys.
We're not
We're tired.
Right.
Yeah.
But it all worked itself out. And I think it was just that vision from him and I loved it and just jumped in head first.
Yeah. I feel like, when Alex shared with me about that conversation, all I knew is, yeah, this guy Diekhoff, whatever. I was like, who? Like, and then he's going to come down. We're going to train. I'm going to bring him in. And I remember him sharing about that phone call was he saw your viewpoint and you saw his viewpoint of like two kids, or I say kids, but you know what I mean? Like younger adults back then. And it's like, hey, I realized he was just trying to lead us, and I was a kid, like, authority, didn't like authority, whatever.
Right.
And then you maybe learning to, loosen up a little bit.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
But it's all perfect, right? And it's just the ability when we can look back and say, we can change the past is my point, because once we can see somebody's viewpoint, like, man, that person was just doing the best they could.
Yeah.
And who was I being in that scenario that I was contributing to that,
Right.
we can change the past. We can say, hey, it wasn't that big a deal.
That's right.
And now look at it. Look what you guys have created. So just a couple more questions that I want to ask you, Scott. I've been asking all of the veterans that have been on this show, what do you believe makes America great? Everybody says make America great again, but what do you actually believe makes America great?
There are so many things you could say here, right? And they're all kind of like, I've used a lot of those words for freedom, this, that, and the other, and that all contributes. But it's our vision of what I believe, what we want our world to be. And when everybody from everywhere, so we built it, comes together and puts their heart and soul into this place that we call home, and works very hard every day to make it that way, not to ruin it, to make it stronger, to make it better for our children, for our families. That's what makes it great. It's not just living here. It's like ownership. Like, this is ours. This is our country. And what are we going to do to contribute to it? So when everybody is contributing and putting their piece into it, whatever it may be, I believe that's and then obviously God and love and that has to be a part of that mixture. But I truly believe that's what makes it great.
So you were reading my mind, because I said I was just had the thought of what do you feel your contribution is going to be to that great world? That this is our country. What's your legacy going to be when you leave here?
So let's say in this sense here, where we're at on the ranch, and the reason, besides Alex, besides you, and all of those things that we trained for, and I'm here for. So when we get through a training, like the whole series with a student, when I see where they are with themselves and their family, not just the training and the weapons and things, that's only a minor part of it.
Right.
To see where they are as a human and as a man or a woman by the time I get done, that's everything for me.
It's a clear answer to me, right? Same thing. Like, that is anybody who works on our team and and anybody who's doing good work,
right,
and building human beings to be more capable, confident versions. But
right.
I'm a bit biased that we're the best, but yeah, it's the most rewarding feeling at the end of that workshop. And that is your contribution, right? Your legacy.
I'll take it.
All of those people will never forget you.
That's true. There's probably quite a few, good and bad. But no, you're right. I'll never forget them either.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
So last question, Scott. A lot of civilians, we see veterans as our heroes. I know you guys don't like to hear that, but it is true. You are so heroic to somebody that maybe hasn't served in the military, or maybe they have, but just especially with your level of experience and rank and everything like that, and everything that you have contributed to the country. and our freedom.
Mhm.
And I know it's just another day to you guys and it's just work, you know? I love when you guys say I'm going to work. I'm like, you mean like,
Just another average
Right.
day.
But so you are seen as, you know, a bit of a hero in that world, but who is your hero?
In a worldly fashion, right, there's so many people that have contributed to my life.
Mhm.
Some I don't even know. But, you know, from your parents, your family to, you know, adults that were there at just the right moment. And those were heroes in that time for sure and continue to be. You know, my wife, and, you know, truly my Lord and Savior.
Yeah.
I can't have the rest. I mean, he's working through me and everyone to make those things happen. And without him, what am I?
Yeah.
So, yeah, for sure. He's definitely my hero.
I appreciate that. So I believe that was such an amazing conversation, and I can't wait to share it with both the people that are listening that are students and not students and the viewers here. So thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your story, Scott.
Thank you, Samantha.
Appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. If you enjoyed this episode on the road to greatness, then make sure you catch this video to learn from another veteran on what makes America great and the core values that build America.